Melissa Ivicic continues her discussion about how she uses a playlist in an individual rotation model. In this video, she explains how she tracks students' productivity during their independent learning time and are held accountable for staying on pace.
So
What about like some teachers are concerned about if I'm over here and I'm working with a small group, how do I know that they're being productive? How do I know that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing over there? Because I'm not with them.
right.
So how did you deal with that?
So a couple of different things. So you can I had my computer right near me all the time, so I could constantly be looking into Google and things like that. And that I could see they had those checkpoints that I was talking about, and so they had to stop, and they did have to kind of prove that they were doing it. And it wasn't that they were interrupting my table; it was just like, I've done this, show it to me, and then they moved on. So it wasn't necessarily an interruption. It was just kind of part of our routine.
You just kind of do like a thumbs up?
Yes, like some kind of thing like that. And then I could immediately see like when they did work on, we had iStation. So that was something that I used. I can immediately see when they did work on no red ink.
Another method some teachers use is to have a tracking chart, either a physical tracking chart or a digital tracking chart, where students mark what they've completed that is on their playlist. So in this particular one, the teacher has a tracking chart on the board so she can see at any given time where students are on their playlist.
I could automatically see really quickly like who's been working and who hasn't. Now, do I say that I immediately was able to see for sure? Not always. Sometimes I would go back in at the end of the day and I would see like what people had accomplished. And I had realized that, John didn't accomplish the things that he needed to. So tomorrow we're going to have a conversation about why didn't you get this accomplished? Was it because I wasn't clear in my instructions? Because I don't want to automatically assume that the child wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. I want to make sure that I really understand where he's coming from. And so I'd be like, hey, what's going on? Like, did you not understand specifically what you're supposed to do? And so that was kind of like an individual conferencing conversation that I would have with kids. And sometimes it was just a misunderstanding of what the expectation was. It wasn't always that they were avoiding the work, because for the most part, my kids were super engaged and they loved it and they were motivated and they wanted to do it, because those can-dos were something that really motivated them to get to that point. And so because of that, they did the must-dos. And so I was able to kind of like differentiate between a kid who was avoiding work versus a kid who was having difficulty with something. And I needed to realize that I needed to reteach or restructure how they specifically were doing something. And there are times, and I think this was something that I had to learn, through the process, is there are some kids that I gave them digital activities. They didn't need to be doing it digitally. So we kind of redid it. And I was like, okay, here's some paper options that you can do that's going to give me the same thing that I need. You're just not doing it on the computer. And those kids chose that option because that was better for their learning at that time. And then there were some times where they were like, hey, could I do this digitally? I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. So there was kind of like a balance between, okay, what's going to be paper and what's going to be digital, and being okay with the fact that some kids are not going to do everything online all the time.